Okay, hi, my name is Jeffrey Handley, and I'm going to be talking about my favorite band, Coheed and Cambria, and how they evolved throughout the years. But first, I'm going to be introducing my audience member, Danielle. She's going to be the one who I'm presenting to. Okay? So this is about Coheed and Cambria, the band. Okay, who is Coheed and Cambria? They're a band from Nyack, New York, as well as the characters they sing about, called Coheed and Cambria. Here's a picture of the band. And here's a picture about the two characters, Coheed and Cambria. They are science fiction characters that are developed from a comic book called The Amory Wars that they write and create on the side. Okay? So here are the albums that they have released so far to date. 8 studio albums so far. I'm going to go into that a little bit later in the slides. Okay? First, an important part of this is Claudio Sanchez and why he is important. He was born March 12, 1978. He's a musician as well as an author because he writes the comic books that go alongside with all of this. And then I'm going to go over a few other members of the band. Okay, but let's not forget why he's important. He's created the entire universe that Coheed and Cambria live inside the comic books called The Amory Wars and a couple of other projects that I'll get into. Okay. This is the key work. It's a very important symbol that you're going to be seeing along the band as well as the Amory War. It's a little makeup of the planetary system that's all surrounded by a force field. Goes into detail in the Amory Wars, but as well as all these characters and things that go on. It's a very detailed story and history as well as deep lore that go inside Coheed and Cambria. It's a lot, I know, don't worry. He seems to be freaking out about it, but he's a pretty cool guy. Okay, now Act 2, this is how it all came to be. Let's go back before we go forward. We have Claudio Sanchez here. He's 18 years old, just getting out of high school. He's been playing with a lot of local bands called Jumbo Head, Beautiful Loser, Anna Divine, just to name a few. Okay, a few things that he liked to do at the time was playing with his nylon string guitar, video games, and recording his own music on his 8-track player that his father gave him. That kind of makes up his creative juices, and that's how he gets all these things in his head, okay? You add that with a combination of a trip to Paris that he started really developing all his skills and ideas. You get the first comic book that he released called The Bag Online Adventures, Second Stage Turbine Blade. This is where you finally meet who Coheed and Cambria is. But not a lot of people know who he is yet, okay? He comes back to the States and jumps into a band called Shibuti. This is where he finally gets a chance to really experiment on all the music that he's been writing, okay? This is him and his band playing around the state of New York. He's played a couple of little shows. He's kind of getting a feel of what's going on as well as who he is and how he plays music, okay? If you take Shibuti, plus the Bag Online Adventures, plus their first EP, the Penelope EP, you get the makings of who Coheed and Cambria is and will be. You get a couple little symbols there. You're going to figure out that the symbols go along with the albums that they release. Okay, but first, you need to know what they went through. Okay, so now we're getting into who Coheed and Cambria is. You're going to figure out that their first album is Second Stage Turbine Blade. It's a very raw, punk, poppy kind of CD. Then you get into the second one. This is going to be where they first get signed onto a real live record label. Okay, it's kind of going into further on what the story is about Coheed and Cambria. That was in Keeping Secrets of Silent Earth 3. Then the third and fourth album are Good Apollo and Burning Star, Volume 1 and 2. It's going even deeper into the lore of Coheed and Cambria. Year of the Black Rainbow is their fifth album, and that kind of jumps back to the prequel on how Coheed and Cambria came to be. The Afterman, Ascension, and Descension go even further back into what the key work is and how that got developed. And then their 8th studio album that was just released a couple of years ago actually doesn't even have to do with the characters Coheed and Cambria. It was their first album that they kind of detached and started writing a little bit more personal, okay? So over the years, we're going to be talking about their members of the band. Of course, you have Claudio Sanchez, who is the lead singer and who's been creating this whole thing. Alongside is his best friend Travis Stever that's been there since the day. Okay, then you had Mike Todd who's been on bass, and then you had Nate Kelly. He's been on drums when they first started Shibuti, as well as into Coheed and Cambria. Nate couldn't cut it, it wasn't his cup of tea, so he kind of split off, but then you got Josh Eppert. Josh Eppert picked up the drums, and he was playing on drums up until the second or third album. Josh couldn't make it. He was dealing with a lot of personal vices as well. So came along Chris Penny, who was a very technical drummer. That's where they started creating a different sound in the fourth and fifth album. Mike Todd also had some personal issues that happened, and he kind of got kicked out. And then Zach Cooper came on. They call him Zach Super Duper Cooper. He started picking up the bass, and then Chris Penny couldn't make it, so then they got Josh back. He cleaned up his act, and he's been in the band ever since. Okay, so that's where we are right now in 2018. This is the final lineup. You got Josh Eppard, you got Travis Stever, you got Zach Cooper, and Claudio Sanchez. Okay, now this is where they're going to be going. This is Leading the Story. This is their 8th album that they've released so far. It's the latest album. It's a more in-depth, story. It has nothing to do with Coheed or Cambria. I know it's a little shocking to a lot of their fans. They started singing about more personal things that happened in their life. A lot of the songs are about things that happened with Claudio. One of the songs has to do with how he lost his house up in upstate New York to a drug dealer that he thought was a good guy that he rented it to. These are things that are really hitting him. Other inspirations are his son Atlas, his world, living in New York, as well as leaving upstate and losing his house. Okay, I go into a little bit of detail on how you can see Atlas is the name of the song, which is track 6. Track 6, Island, is the first song on the album, which is about living in New York. And Young Love is track 7. It's about losing his house and how they were young and they felt like they lost something very important to them. Okay? Other ongoing projects that they have are comics that they write called The Amory Wars, as well as books like they released with Year of the Black Rainbow, as well as Kid Crazy and the Kilowatt King, which is a child's book that he released as well as a little musical project. New album coming out is going to be pretty good. It has a lot to do, they're kind of jumping back into the Coheed and Cambria lore, and it's going to be really good. Okay, so thank you for watching. I hope I did a great job. That is the end, and there are my sources.